Yo, what up, what up, what up, and welcome, everybody. Welcome, man. Listen, yo, Tom Peace and Pinoy News. I'm here with my brother Max, motherfucking Dean Esme, also known as Mad Max from Michigan. Yo.
That's me. That's me. The Mad Catholic, Mad Catholic schizo. That's me.
Well, tonight, man, we got a show lined up for you. We got some stuff we're gonna discuss. We got some articles we're gonna go over. We're gonna actually get into the metrics of a whole bunch of retarded socialistic nonsense and globalism and globalist garbage, and just there's a lot of shit to go over tonight. You know, I mean, legit. I mean, and I'll be honest with you, we're gonna get right the fuck into it because, like, you know, it's a big thing to really cover. I'll be honest with you. So, you know, Ballistic Zero, man, welcome, my brother. Welcome, Zachariah, JW, and Enclave Harden. It's nice to see you out here. All right, guys. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stand here and I'm gonna share this article and we're gonna read it out so everybody knows exactly what's going on. All right. Can you still?
Do it. I'm with you. Let's do it.
All right.
Watch out, we don't get copyright.
All right. So. Oh no! I never get a copyright hit from reading articles. You only get copyright hit from when you get banged for like playing music or a video. All right, so this is from the Mint. All right, and we might put this in the description so y'all can read about this later. 2021 should be the year of the Great Reset. The pandemic has reminded us of what we cannot aim solely for higher GDP and profits on the assumption that maximizing these indicators automatically redounds to the benefits of society. A renewed focus on public health, net zero pledges, and the arrival of stakeholder capitalism metrics will ensure that 2021 will be a new year. The year ahead could be a historical one. And what's up?
Can I read a paragraph?
Yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead. Because this is the part where I'm going to shine. But yeah, go ahead, read this paragraph.
No, I'm sorry. Either one. I want to read it in Klaus Schwab's voice. The year ahead could be a historic one, in a historic positive way. 75 years after the original year zero. All right, I'm kidding. That followed World War II, we once again have a chance to rebuild. The process after 1945 was literal, building anew from the wreckage of war. This time the focus is on the material world, but also on so much more. We must aim for a higher degree of social sophistication and create a sound basis for the well-being of all people on the planet.
All right.
Go ahead.
Let me stand here and read this to you because this is something I have been beating into your fucking heads for fucking a year and a half now because it's the most important thing that you can ever understand. After World War II, we developed a new economic philosophy grounded in collaboration and integration with material well-being as its primary objective. This project gave rise to international organizations such as the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, as well as the arrangement that would evolve into the World Trade Organization and the European Union. He's talking about the Bretton Woods Accords and the Bretton Woods Agreements and the Atlantic Charter that legitimately, I've been trying to tell you, these people are highly pissed off that they're dying because they're the basis, legitimately. They are the fucking basis as a whole for fucking neoliberalism, and they're fucking pissed off that it's dying.
Yes.
All right. There's more. That died.
There's more. But yep.
And it says it right next. It says neoliberalism, a staunch commitment to free markets and limited government, reigned in the West, where it delivered decades of prosperity and progress. But this model is broken down while COVID-19 delivered the final blow. It has been clear for at least 2 decades that the post-war model is no longer sustainable, environmentally or socially, owing to today's sky-high levels of inequality.
Mm-hmm.
Right. English historian Thomas Fuller famously said that the darkest hour of night comes just before dawn, and yet we cannot simply assume that a better year will follow an animus horribilis that brought the great public health crisis. Huh? What up?
It just means
horrible year. Yeah, horrible year. Yeah. Right. And the steepest recession in the century. You must actually make it so. They think they're fucking smart by writing in goddamn Latin and shit. Like it's fucking gonna, like it's gonna fool me. Like nigga, like I'm Italian. You're not gonna fucking fool me reading Latin. Get the fuck out of here. Right. If current predictions hold, several vaccines will become available. If they allow us to beat back the pandemic, we should undertake a reckoning of what we have learned from this crisis. Although vaccines can bring stability, they are not a panacea panacea. Like peace settlement that ends but does not reverse the devastation of war. Stopping the pandemic is merely a first step. The greater challenge will be to fix the structural flaws in our systems and institutions, many of which have failed to provide the necessary care and services to all who need them. It will be all of us to ensure that the social welfare and healthcare systems are made more resilient for the next generation. This pandemic has reminded us that we cannot aim solely for higher GDP and profits on the assumption that maximizing these indicators automatically redounds to the benefit of society. It doesn't, which is why the coming year must bring a great reset in how we approach economic growth and governance. All right. So all right, you want to read a second point?
Sure. Second, and I'll stop with trying to do his weird, goofy German Nazi accent. Second, 2021 will be the year when every major government, as well as broad private sector coalitions, commit to a net zero target for greenhouse gas emissions. I got a lot to say there. This means that rather than being stuck in a race to the bottom and fearing a continuous free rider problem, the world can benefit from a virtuous cycle of decarbonization. They're talking about forcing everybody into the world in this carbon reduction strategy stuff. Already, the European Union has agreed to enshrine 2050 climate neutrality in law. And that means they want no net zero carbon emissions by 2050. China has pledged to become climate neutral by 2060, and Japan has made a similar pledge for 2050. With Joe Biden having been elected president, we'll see. The U.S. is expected to rejoin the Paris Climate Agreement and aim for 100% clean energy and net zero emissions by 2050. These commitments amount to a historic development. China, Japan, the U.S., and Europe together account for well over half of all greenhouse gas emissions and over half of global gross domestic product. The targets outlined in the Paris Agreement are now eminently achievable on a national and regional level. Oh, man, reading between the lines here. Go ahead, Tom.
All right. Yeah, I mean, like, all right. So that's something, again, like Joe Biden said, one of the first things he's going to do is rejoin the fucking Paris Climate or the Paris Accord, which is complete and utter dog shit and bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest here. Like, the vast majority of Europe lives on motherfucking, you know what I mean, oil and natural gas. Like, and they want to pretend that they don't still use fucking coal and shit like this. But, you know, Germany spent like, what is it? Something like $2 trillion towards fucking green energy. And they've lowered their fucking carbon emissions by 7%. Like, yo, that shit doesn't work. All right, legit. It depends on where you live at as to whether or not fucking you can actually have, you know what I mean, solar panels or, you know what I mean, wind farms and things of this nature. They only work in certain fucking climates in certain areas of the planet and certain fucking, you know what I mean, latitudes. And that's really where shit's at.
And the interesting thing is that under those Paris Climate Accords, the U.S. was the only nation to routinely meet its goals, whereas no other nation did. And you watch what they're basically essentially saying here. They're saying the European West and the United States basically need to be brought down to the level of the rest of the world, not bring the rest of the world up to our level. That's kind of hidden in between the lines here. They're not saying it. But should we finish the article?
Yeah, we're gonna finish this up. All right. Moreover, a series of industry and corporate commitments now complements government efforts. Never before has the global climate movement been so large and so concrete. Finally, 2021 will be the year when companies pivot from a strictly short-term profit orientation towards strategies focusing more on long-term viabilities of their businesses and interest and contributions of all stakeholders. To be sure, business leaders embraced the concept of stakeholder capitalism back in 2019 with the Business Roundtable's pledge, and then in the Davos Manifesto of 2020.
This is a big deal.
Yeah, this is fucking huge. But they lack the means to translate these principal commitments into measurable targets and non-financial reporting. That is no longer the case today. With the development of clear stakeholder capitalism metrics in 2020, all companies have the tools they need to turn environmental, social, and governance commitments into measurable action. You want to finish it up?
Yeah, sure. Big companies that are signing on to this, not little mom and pop stores and not your little business. But anyway, again, this is a historic breakthrough that will have global ramifications. The big four accounting firms, and again, this is a big deal. These are global accounting firms from Deloitte, EY, KPMG, and PwC, all contributed to the new metrics and can now incorporate them into their own yearly reporting on company performance. And they are joined by a host of large institutions from Bank of America to BlackRock. Bank of America, by the way, and BlackRock both are huge stakeholders in all of our major media, including Fox, CNN, all that. They control the news media. And that have been increasingly vocal supporters of stakeholder capitalism. So even the people who run our media are all in, including all the big banks internationally. These three major developments, a renewed focus on public health and resilience, net zero pledges, and the arrival of stakeholder capitalism metrics, which we're going to need to talk about that soon. But we'll talk about what a stakeholder is first. But all ensure that 2021 will be a new year zero. As in the aftermath of World War II, the building blocks are already in place, providing a foundation on which to construct a new era of improved well-being, inclusive economic growth, and climate action. Now, I have several comments here, but I'm sure you have some too. So who first?
Oh, for sure, for sure. Well, first off, I also want to say BlackRock is the largest private renter on the planet, right?
Oh, really? Real estate just holders? Yeah.
Well, it's not just that, right? They also they own the most amount of rental houses. Like after all that shit like fell apart, like back in 2008, 2009, whatever. They went through and they bought all those fucking houses, and now they're renting them all out.
They're renting out a lot of houses and apartment buildings, I'm sure.
Yeah. And fucking they've been getting, like, they got bailed out by Barack Obama. That was his last fucking executive order.
And let me just, I think what helps anybody is to learn what a stakeholder is, because then when you start hearing the metrics, it starts getting a lot more sinister. I think, Tom, you've been looking into the metrics. Just so anybody knows, I have a business degree. Yes, I've done a lot of things, and I have a business degree. I got it from a regular Colorado Tech University back around 2006, I think. And we were already studying stakeholder capital then. And I work for a publicly traded corporation, and we're kind of on stakeholder capitalism principles already. So they've actually, this is not, stakeholder capitalism isn't new. They've been teaching it in business schools and as part of business degrees for a long while now. And, you know, when we were taught it, getting my business degree, it's not a master's, but still it's a dual major in IT and business. But the bottom line, it was all just presented as this is how stakeholder is going to work from now on. So this is how you have to learn it. Stakeholder capitalism tied directly to Fourth Industrial Revolution, same guy, Great Reset, same people. So this is how they're teaching people getting business degrees these days, and has been for a while. So this is what's coming in corporate America and international corporations. And at the start of it, it all sounds good. You heard all that. Like, one of the biggest criticisms of capitalism, publicly traded corporations, as we've understand it, is that they run on quarterly profits. So this means they don't think long term. So some of the things that KLAUS here, who's been writing on this and organizing this since the 70s, he founded the World Economic Forum. He's got a couple of PhDs and a couple of masters. You know, and he's well connected with all these families and these financial institutions, has been for decades. So when he says shit's coming, he's not generalizing. He has the ears of the most powerful people on the planet. And, you know, he starts by admitting something, and we don't even talk about it, but he admits something, which is that after World War II, the world economy was being planned by these groups. And he kept saying, after World War II, we did this, we did that. Well, who's we? Motherfucker, you are not part of we, and neither am I, right? You listening to this, you're not part of we. He's using this language, but he means the people in the World Economic Planning Centers and in the big international corporations in oil and all that sort of thing. They're the we who planned the post-world economy. They're the we who created the EU and all that stuff. They're the we, the people who signed the Bretton Woods Accord that Tom keeps talking about. And these people are inherently globalist and communistic, even though they don't admit it. But at the basis, stakeholder capital sounds good, and then I'll shut up because I'm sure there's more to say, because we're not going to just be focused on quarterly profits. We're going to think about 10 years out, 20 years out. Can we really build this into a business? That sounds good. And the stakeholders are fairly well defined. You can look it up, but It is considered that there are basically 5 key stakeholders in your business, in anybody's business. Is it 5? No, 6. And then there can be other stakeholders. They're not as often mentioned. But the key stakeholders in stakeholder capitalism are the customers, the suppliers, the employees, the shareholders, the owners, and the local communities that they operate in. If you're planning one of these businesses using stakeholder capital, all your planning thinks about what the interests and desires of your customers are. What are the interests and desires of your suppliers? What are the interests and desires of your employees and your shareholders and the local communities? So at a starting level, it's actually pretty good. They're talking about being responsible. We're going to be responsible to the local community. We're going to care about our employees. We're going to actually care about the long-term interests of our customers. And we're going to talk about making our business be secure long-term rather than going just on quarterly profits. There's a couple of problems with that. And first of it is they kind of get to decide for the customers and the employees and all that, and the local communities. They get to decide what's in their interests. It's not a democracy. So it's the technocrats running the business that gets to decide what's in all these people's best interests. That's problem number 1 that they don't admit. And then problem number 2 goes into what they use as metrics within their business. And the metrics are when we say, well, we had this goal, did we meet it? And what was the metric that said, yes, we met it or not? And who gets to decide the metrics and which metrics are acceptable is where the rub goes in. Like, one of your metrics is going to be your carbon emissions, even though that's bullshit. That's going to be one of the metrics. I don't know what all the metrics they're going to use, but if you read enough of Klaus Schwab stuff and the World Economic Forum stuff, the sustainable development people, same thing, by the way. Sustainable development people are stakeholder capitalism people. And so, I'm sitting
here and I have the stakeholder capitalism shit up on screen right now. Right. I think anyway, it should be.
Okay.
Right. I had the stakeholder capitalism shit up on screen. Right.
I don't see it, but there it goes.
I'm on page 11 of 96 of this fucking document, which you know how this works. It was all written by some fucking government bureaucrat, so it's got to be unbelievably goddamn long on some dumb shit.
I'm going to virtually guarantee, is everybody getting free healthcare is in there. Are women equally represented in the workplaces? Are LGBT right? So they get to decide the interest groups.
Well, underneath of community and social viability, there's a phrase that bothers me quite a bit. It says the total global tax borne by the company, including corporate income taxes, property taxes, non-credible VAT, and other sales taxes, employer paid payroll taxes, and other taxes that constitutes costs of the company by category of taxes. Right. And that's under community and social. Yo, man, this shit is fucking crazy. I'm gonna tell you some of the stuff in here that's, absolutely fucking bananas, right?
Yeah. Well, here's what it gets down to, and everybody should read it. They get to decide what's fair. They get to decide what's equitable. They get to decide what's sustainable. They get to decide how we're going to go about meeting these. And the lowly peon employees, it's a different matter. And customers, it's a different matter.
Okay, so this came from the British Academy and Colin Mayer. The governing purposes is setting purpose, the company's stated purpose as the expression of the means by which a business proposes solutions to economic, environmental, and social issues. Corporate purpose should create value for all stakeholders, including shareholders. Right. Governing body composition, the composition of the highest governance body and its committees by competencies relating to economic, environmental, and social topics, executive or non-executive independence, tenure on the governance body, number of each of the individuals, other significant positions and commitments, and the nature of the commitments, gender, membership, or other represented social groups, stakeholder representation.
Ballistic Zero says, meanwhile, the normal folks get bent. Yep.
Yep. Right.
PJ Lotta, we're talking about stakeholder capitalism.
Well, yeah, this is all about the Great Reset and stakeholder capitalism, right? This is, you know what I mean? All right. So they're trying to bring in a second Bretton Woods to try and bring the global community back together again after, like, you know what I mean? Everybody said, yo, fuck that. We don't need these motherfuckers. You know what I mean?
Brexit and all that.
And so, yeah, this is their next move. You know what I mean? So we're going to tell you about it before it happens because, well, you know, that's what we do here. And then everybody else hops on the motherfucking, bandwagon. And then, you know, they go, oh, man, yo, look, man, y'all don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, nigga, I was on that 2 years ago. Y'all need to motherfucking keep up. Right. Stakeholder engagement, a list of topics that are material to keeping stakeholders and the company, how the topics were identified and how the stakeholders were engaged.
Yeah. And again, stakeholder engagement, it's not actually a big deal when you're talking about the managers of the other companies, of, you know, your suppliers and whatnot, but they get to set employee relations. They get to set customer relationships, and they get to determine what's in the interest of the local community that they operate in. And they have, you know, real narrowly defined ways of asking their questions. And yeah, the normal folks are going to get screwed big time on this.
Yeah, right. Like this shit is fucking ridiculous, right? Climate change for all relevant greenhouse gases, i.e. carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, F gases, report in metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent, GHG protocol scope 1 and scope 2 emissions, estimate and report material upstream and downstream emission where appropriate.
Yeah, and here things they're full on in with the global agenda to give everybody the jab. They're full in with the global warming agenda to reduce CO2 emissions. And anybody who questions whether reducing CO2 is actually a good goal or the recommended treatment for the infections is actually a good idea, they don't need to be helped. They don't need to be heard. If you read a real good book called The Sensible Environmentalist, I think, and there's a few others out there, there's a lot of environmental problems that we could be addressing and we're not because we're concentrating on CO2. And there's a lot other pollutants out there that are a bigger deal. So, see, they're sitting here talking to you like we're going to be more responsible to communities. We're going to be more inclusive. We're going to be more environmentally friendly. But they get to pick all these metrics. So it's more environmentally friendly if it's less CO2. They don't put other things into consideration. Notice how, too, they consider the planet an equal stakeholder to the others. The planet
and there's going to be a live chat replay, and I put this document into the chat, the PDF download for it. So all you have to do is, go here and it'll download this PDF for you or whatever, and you can sit here and read all this shit yourself. If y'all are interested.
If you want to hear old KLAUS here, I'll get you go to the World Economic Forum. It has its own.
That's what this is. This is the World Economic Forum IBC measuring stakeholder capitalism.
Right. I'm just saying they've got a YouTube channel, which I'll just send you the link for, and you can sit there and listen to these people talk about their plans.
Yeah, you can't. You can't. All right. Look, that is unfucking bearable.
Oh, it's terrible to listen to. Their stuff is unreadable. Their stuff is unreadable, and their presentations are boring snooze fests, and they do that on purpose too. Right?
Well, I don't think they do that on purpose. I just think it's that goddamn boring to listen to.
Well, that too. Because they're all using language, twisty language, and people laugh when I say Luciferian language, but it's even Moldbug admits that that's kind of how these people work. They have double meanings to every word. Everything is double talk and filled with assumptions. I mentioned this, but just look how KLAUS talks about how we restructured the world economy after World War II. Well, I'll just say it again. We means people in his economic technocrat class, well connected with the world's moneyed elites. That's what he meant by we. He does not mean you, the peon listening to this show.
All right, check this out. Check this out. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Check this shit out. So here's some shit, right? All right. So this says dignity and equality, right? Which is the fucking
Uh-huh.
retarded thing, right?
Everybody wants dignity and equality, but who defines it? Go ahead.
All right. So percentage of employees per employee category by age group, gender, and other indicators of diversity, e.g., ethnicity, right? Pay equality ratio of the basic salary and remuneration for each employee category by significant locations of operation from priority areas of equality, women to men, minor to major, ethnic groups, and other relevant equality areas. Wage level percentage ratios of standard entry level wage by gender compared to local minimum wage, ratio of the annual compensation of the CEO to the median of the annual total compensation of its employees, except the CEO, risk for incidents of child forced or compulsory labor, an explanation of the operations and suppliers considered to have significant risk for incidents of child labor, forced or compulsory labor. Such risk could emerge in relation to the type of operation, such as manufacturing plant, type of supplier, and the countries of geographic areas with operation and suppliers considered at risk.
See, and there's going to be stuff on health and well-being. Here's the thing. They're talking about it like it's capitalism, and we've all been trained to hear that capitalism is about free markets. It's nothing of the sort. It's double talk language on all of it. They get to decide what equality is. They get to decide who the groups are that need representing and how they'll be represented. You know, this is actually communism. This is kind of a globalist, one world almost utopia they're talking about, or improvement, because they're going to decide who lives where and what's it's important to recognize that words like sustainable development are not code words, but they do have a specific meaning, because to them the metrics of sustainable involve like greenhouse gas emissions and population growth. They want to control our rate of reproduction. They have various means of that. All of this is embedded in what they're doing. They're and they're going to get rid of all the world's religions too. They're just kind of erasing it. But it's all phrased in benign or reasonable or sciencey sounding language. And it's boring.
All this is written by bureaucrats. You know what I'm saying? These are all basically, it's written by individuals who have worked for the government their entire fucking lives. Like literally they went from the government institution of a school to another government institution when they went to work, to another government institution, where they worked, and like they've never actually worked in the private fucking sector ever. And the individuals who like they're fucking communicating with at these companies are usually like HR level individuals or people who are like, fucking like a vice president of diversity or some bullshit like that. So they came out of school and went right into some shit where they never got challenged, never had to actually produce any value for a company.
A friend of mine, an old friend I used to have, was she was getting her PhD in economics. She got her master's at University of Chicago. She was getting the PhD here in University of Michigan. So and she knew her shit, right? When it came to economics, she's going to good schools, and she's like, one of the very obvious things that you can see that, like, she would also tell you this, there's nothing to do about it. You just see it constantly. This whole class of people who, it may not be necessarily government schools because they may have gone to the best private schools, but regardless, the point you just made is otherwise exactly the same, which is these people go straight all the way through school, graduate with their degree, and then slot right into middle or often straight into upper management at huge corporations. They've never actually had a job. They've never actually had to build or run a business. They're coming in as technocrats, as bureaucrats to run things. And they don't even really care what the business is that they're going into. If they happen to go into car manufacturing, they probably will get a little bit of specialized training in that area, but they're going to govern and manage everything and plan everything the same way. And if they hop over to being restaurateurs in the managerial class, that's what they'll do. They'll learn a few things about the restaurant industry, but they'll never have jobs. They'll never know what it is to live as a peon. No. And they go straight into middle and upper management immediately out of school. And that's who these people are. So, and you ain't one of them if you're listening to this. And you never will be either.
Well, let me put this like this, right? You may be one of them out here in the crowd. You might be an office worker who like legit, like you're that type of person. You know what I'm saying? And that's fine, but you need to understand that we're out here fighting your type.
Well, I mean, some of them are office workers who work in these corporate environments, and frankly, they kind of brainwash you. They really do use neurolinguistic programming and a bunch of things to just, you're being brought into an ethos here. Because this is planning your business around your whole customers and your whole employees' life, and how we're going to manage the environment and how we're going to manage healthcare. And all these corporations collectively are going to be doing it the same way, you see? So it really is a form of global communism, because none of this is for small businesses. Or if small businesses they're going to be.
Let me stand here and explain why this is not for small businesses, right? I'm gonna break this down to you, right? All right. And by the way, you're buzzing. Fucking direct economic value generated and distributed. This is from this stakeholder capitalism report, right? This is under employment and wealth generation and the economic contribution, right? It says direct economic value generated and distributed on an accruals basis, right? Covering the basic components for the organization's global operations, ideally split out by revenues, operating costs, employees' wages and benefits, payments to providers of capital, payments to governments, community investment, financial assistance received from the government, total monetary value of financial assistance received by the organization from any government during the reported period, right? And this is under financial investment contribution, total capital expenditures minus depreciation supported by narrative to describe the company's investment strategies, share buybacks plus dividend payments supported by narrative to describe the company's strategy for return to capital to shareholders, total costs related to research and development and the total global tax borne by the company, including corporate income taxes, property taxes, non-credible VAT, and our sales taxes, and other taxes that constitutes costs of the companies by category of taxes. Right. And all these things are going to be something that they're going to force you to fucking live by if you're selling to any other goddamn country, is basically what this is. Right. They're going to be like, we don't care if the Britain left the EU. You're going to still have to live under the fucking EU's rules. It's that simple. Max, you there?
Yes, I am. Sorry. Yes, you're correct about all this. And, look at it down there at the bottom. Principles of governance, the planet, the people, and prosperity in general. Once again, that all sounds great. We're going to think about the people and we're going to think about generating prosperity, but they get to define what is prosperity. They get to define what the people want and even what the groups of people are, because they're going to divide us into like weird racial groups instead of more organic ones that we decide for ourselves. And they're going to continue to consider the planet of equal importance to the people and their prosperity. So the planet may be more important than you, so you may need to live poorer because of it. And this is all for large corporations, so no matter where you go for a job, you will find all of this. Right, unless you're really lucky and manage to get into one of the family or start a family business that survives or find an independent career somehow, you'll be working for a company that does these things. Whether you work for Costco or Walmart or a trucking company or a shoe, you name it, you'll be running under all these rules. So it's
your shit is legitimately buzzing. Like often, like it just keeps going off and on with the buzzing.
All right, let me see what I can do about that.
All right. In the meantime, I'm talking about dynamic materiality. Right. Sustainable topics can move either gradually or very quickly. Reporting on matters that reflects the organization's significant impacts on the economy, environment, and people, right? To various users with various objectives who want to understand the enterprise's positive and negative contributions to sustainable development, right? Reporting on the subset of sustainability topics that are material for enterprise value creation, specifically to the subset of those whose primary objective is to improve economic decisions, right? And this is all done. This is all for like governments or fucking, some global fucking bullshit, right? reporting that had already reflected in the financial accounts, right? So that's basically like what's in your fucking what's in your like your annualized fucking reports and things of this nature. Right. That direction of travel from core to expanded metrics. The primary focus of this project encourages many companies as possible to start reporting on the recommended core metrics and mainstream annual reports and disclosures at the market's earliest opportunity. This is why the project has scanned many hundreds of ESG metrics available and highlighted just 21 core metrics that are well established, universal, industry agnostic, and we believe to be material to sustainable value creation. It is acknowledged that not all companies will find it easy to report immediately against all the recommended metrics in their mainstream disclosures. However, ambition is for the companies to embark on a journey that leads to reporting both core and expanded metrics in the spirit of embracing stakeholder capitalism as momentum in the market and expansion expectations in societies at large. Build towards more far-reaching progress on the SDGs and more transparent corporate reporting. The expanded metrics present a pathway for companies to continually improve the depth, breadth, and sophistication of the reporting on issues of economic, environmental, and social concern. The expanded metrics and disclosures encourage companies to move from reporting outputs alone to capturing the impacts of their operation on nature and society across the full chain in more tangible, sophisticated ways, including the monetary value of impacts. They also address urgent emerging issues such as nature loss, resource circularity, and gender and ethnic pay gaps that are not yet well represented in formal reporting standards. These considerations will require additional sector and development specific metrics to be reported over time.
This is also what stuff like ISO 9000 and QS and QA 9000 are related to. These technocrats are developing standardized ways of running every single business on the planet. And all this reporting and transparency stuff they're talking about, basically, even if you do go to work for any corporation, they'll be using the same systems, the same kind of metrics, and every corporation that is signed on to this. What that just said in all that lengthy text was some companies will be slower and have more struggles adopting all this than others, but they all will eventually. So this is what's coming, at least according to these people. By the way, in the chat, I see Ballistic Zero says, if CO2 was that bad, I wouldn't use tanks of it in my greenhouses to grow more greens faster. I just don't care about the narrative anymore. Yeah, really, CO2 helps plants grow. My old friend Arcadio Occult Curio Shop showed up. He's a witch. He's an actual witch. We ought to interview him one of these days.
Yeah. Fucking like he usually comes out to almost every show I do. It's appreciated. Prime Movers out there, Ballistic Zero, Michael Hatfield, my brother. How you doing tonight? PJ Luda, fucking Enclave Harden. Let me see who else is out here. Hang on a second. We got Fun Under the Carpet Kids, but I'm sorry I'm not paying attention to the chat, man. I'm on the other screen reading. KLAUS out here. Monk Farmer, how you doing, my brother? You know what I'm saying? It's nice to see you. And Zachariah JW, man. It's nice to see everybody out in the chat tonight. You know, I mean, look, we got 22 people. Adam Hartz, man, what's up, man? Fucking nice to see you out here, my brother. Like, we're going over this information so that like y'all understand like what's coming. Right. And I did that like 25-minute video yesterday on my predictions for 2021. You know what I mean? And what's coming up. You know what I mean? I think most of that's going to happen. And, you know what I mean? Like this here is, you know what I mean? Like a bigger picture macro ideology that these individuals want to pass. Though I do think that the United States is not going to hand over sovereignty to an international bunch of fucking cocksuckers at the EU or the fucking UN. Just to be real with you. I think it's going to be a hard fight for them to get it out of their hands.
I have several opinions on that, but I mean, one thing is true. There is resistance to this, and there is resistance growing. And so they're either and while they are obviously very, very, very powerful, anybody who thinks this is just a bunch of dumb bureaucrats talking to each other about airy-fairy ideas is an idiot. Go look. They're really implementing this. They've actually been implementing it for decades. They've been fine-tuning it, bringing it up, making it more sophisticated. They're making it very clear with the book, his Blank 19, The Great Reset. His book lays out all this stuff he's talking about here too. And this guy's been the head of planning this with global corporations and finance houses since the 70s. They really are planning this and they're implementing it. There's just a couple of questions which is like, will they succeed? or will they fail finally in their own hubris? I know, Tom, you seem to be of the opinion that this is them freaking out. I don't think so, because they've been planning it for a while, but they could also be nearing the end of their run. Like, enough people, this may be unsustainable. Basically, this is a bunch of irrational bullshit. They just, it might not work. They might collapse of their own stupidity on this. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, like me personally, all right. So here's what I think. I think there is a movement across the globe towards nationalism, right? And it's absolutely a correct way to go. Like, I think there's like many countries across the world that are moving towards nationalism, and there's even countries inside of countries that are moving towards, you know what I'm saying, a more ethnic solution. You know, you have what the hell, man? You got that place in northern Spain, you know what I'm saying, that's trying to get free. You have individuals from places in Indonesia which are trying to become free, you know what I mean, become their own states. You have places in the Ukraine and the Crimea that wants to become its own state. And with that being said, I don't think all this global bullshit is going to work in a nationalist world where countries have to look out for themselves, because you have countries that are going to succeed well, and you have countries that are going to be like carrying other countries and they're not interested in that. And then you have countries that are going to be free riders. And like, you're going to have like a lot of this shit just going on back and forth. And people aren't just going to tolerate this, because it violates the sovereignty of their nations. Like, what happens if you're over here reporting all this bullshit and it's a matter of national motherfucking, like, it's a matter of national secrets what that corporation does, because he's or a military contractor or something along these type of lines.
You know, maybe. I mean, I know that the crypto, I'm not going to be mean to anybody, because investing in crypto is a good idea at this point. But
no, nigga, like right now, I made $200 in the past 3 weeks off of fucking crypto. I'll be real with you.
But you know, and there is this sustained narrative that crypto is what's going to break these people, or it's going to seriously hamper them, because even though they're also using it, and they don't let anybody lie to you and say crypto is untraceable. There's no untraceable crypto on the planet. It doesn't exist, because even if within the blockchain it's secure, if you have any email exchanges, if you ship anything to yourself or to somebody else, you're toast, you're done, you're tracked. That said, a lot of these people of power comes from their ability to simply create money out of thin air. And crypto doesn't let them do that. Real crypto, free crypto doesn't. And neither does gold. But it looks to me like the only way to escape this matrix is going to be to refuse to play, right? Start developing informal barter networks and trade networks of your own. But they're trying to get rid of that too.
I like what KRS once said one time. He said, "Look, man, you know what you need? What you need to do is you need to learn how to live simply, right? Learn how to say, I'm good. I don't need your bullshit." You know what I mean? It's that simple. Like, that's really what you have to do. You have to learn to live within your fucking means and not want too much out of people. That way you're not dealing in their credit systems. You're not dealing with their fucking garbage. You know what I mean? You have a private fucking landlord who's not hooked into like some giant financial chain or whatever the case might be. You know what I mean? Like, that's really what you have to do when it comes down to these people, is you have to learn how to say, I'm good. Because like the moment you say that, you're no longer playing their game as a whole. You know what I mean?
Right. Don't want your help. Don't want your products. Don't want your anything. But what they're trying to do, you know, using the pandemic as a pretext, is take away to travel, take away cash, take away, these are parts of their plans, take away our ability to travel without constantly showing our health status. And they do everything they can to break up groups of like more than 6 people. That is going to make setting up resistance harder. But the folks who are going to be able to do it are the ones out in rural areas, small towns, and etc. Definitely, you want to get the hell out of the city.
There's still get-togethers around here and shit. You know what I mean? Like New Year's Eve, everybody, you know, was firing off their guns and shit out back. You know what I mean? Like, you know, they're not going to stop us. You know, like they're not. You know what I mean? And
Well,
that's just how this works. The problem is like the vast majority of people in Europe and a lot of these other countries across the world, again, are completely urbanized, and they all are in the cities and are relying upon the fucking city grid in order to survive.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
You know, and
mm-hmm.
that's how, like, you know, they can't say I'm good. They can't say I don't need that. You know what I mean? They don't have that ability. They have to be able to use public transportation. They have to be able to use the public roads. They have to be able to use the fucking water and sewer
I'm
and the
afraid that
trash. And all that shit.
that is one of the tragedies that actually began to befall Americans in particular, even starting in the 70s. Gen X locked in with the millennials. We're all there. There's so many people now who are on government assistance of one type or another. It's going to be like, if you let yourself go on government assistance for more than at a year or two at most, you may be, if you go that long on government assistance, you'll probably never come off. And they know this psychologically. You want to be preparing to avoid it now. You
Well,
know.
like here's the thing, right? Like that government assistance is what destroys rural communities as a whole, right? And I've watched it. Like, you know, when they stand here and start handing out money to people that they didn't get from the local fucking community, and they have no attachment to the local community, it destroys the community as a whole, right? Because that's really what ties you to the community all together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you're needing like, that's the, in a community you have to need each other in order to survive, right? And like you have to be like remotely tied together on a financial basis, like where, like, you know, if you know you don't know you don't deal with the rest of the community, you're not gonna be able to sell your cows or your milk or your eggs or your cheese, or, you know, I mean, fucking whatever it is that you do, or you don't work together, you don't, you know, I mean, spend time together, like. And that local fucking foundry and shit is usually like the people who sponsor the kids fucking t-ball leagues and the football, you know, I mean, the fucking pee-wee football people, and, you know, I mean, a local gymnastics or soccer team or whatever, you know. And if you don't have that, then, like, you know, I mean, you really don't have a community as a whole. You know what I mean? Like fucking, you know, the local, like even the local pizza shops around here all sponsor little league teams and shit. You know what I mean? Because like it's important that you have that community fucking, you know what I mean, interaction. And once you're part of that community, the rest of the community supports that business. And, you know, I mean, once that business is all like, you know, that business is no longer there, and you can't have the kids fucking sports anymore and shit. And like, it's a massive fucking problem. So like you have to keep that money local, and these federal fucking programs and welfare programs and shit really destroy communities as a whole altogether.
We've seen widespread devastation of communities all over the world, including in the United States. Even all of this this immigration issue is really population relocation and displacement. It's ethnic cleansing. And people don't want to say that out loud, but it's true. They want uh, normal ethnic cultures to break down. They want us all to be living in housing where we live alone or with no more than two or three other people. They
Well, this is
the
us
actual
getting
plans
ruled
they
over
have
by
are
urbanites, man.
ridiculous.
Like, yo, this is
Yes,
us
I
getting
know.
ruled over by urbanites. That's what this is.
Ruled by
Legit.
urbanites and a technocratic elite. Yeah, and they're very open, by the way. The Great Reset plans do include moving most humans back into cities. With that in the goal, in like by 2030, they'll have new super smart cities built for most people to live in, and most people will be living in pre-planned housing inside the cities.
Yeah,
That's the
that's
plan.
what they want. You know, I mean, that's
Yeah.
legit. That's what they want. They want you to live, you know what I'm saying, inside of a city like they do, because they think the way they live is the best way to live. You know, like these people here, they live in, you know, Berlin or fucking, you know, Drakkar or fucking someplace in goddamn Europe or fucking Paris or wherever, and they live in this nice fucking upscale goddamn fucking community and shit. Yo, modern Sisyphus, what's up, man? Right? I'm fucking having a hard time tonight talking. Right now, like, yeah, but like they all live inside of these cities and shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and fucking they live in these nice fucking, you know, like
They live in
brownstones, whatever. They live in like
they,
Manhattan in New York. They don't live
they,
in, you know, I mean, the Bronx.
they
You
either
know?
live in mansions or they live in penthouse apartments. You know,
Mhm.
with the slightly lesser members of their cadre maybe living in the in the lesser floors. Yeah, they live in their glass towers or their mansions. They get in their cars. They can fly to wherever they want around the world. Tel Aviv, Cairo. UAE, China, they don't care. They have no contact at all with us down here. And very few elected politicians make it all the way up there without already being one of them.
Or like, it's just like I was listening to Joe Rogan earlier this week, right? And he was talking about like fucking people were chanting in PA saying like, we love you at the Trump rally. And he goes, man, it's a fucking problem of, fucking bad education, right? And I'm standing here and I'm like, and he was talking about my area in central PA. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, hang on a minute. We have the best schools in the fucking nation. The fuck are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have the fucking best schools in the entire country. And
Really?
You're going to stand here and, yeah, legit, we have the best schools. And why do you think I'm so well educated, even though I dropped out of fucking high school? Like, we have the best schools in the goddamn country, legit. Like, by measurement. Right, we have some of the best communities in the country where the fuck I live at, and this motherfucker has the nerve to say some shit like that. Like this fucking piece of shit. Like fucking like you can't love Trump and not know that he's a fucking con man. By the way, you're buzzing again, bro.
Sorry. Is this good? Is better?
No.
Hopefully so. It's not. Dang it. No. All right, hang on, everybody. I'll be back.
All right, do your thing. Right.
You just keep talking.
Yeah, I will. And it fucking aggravates me, that these fucking urbanites, who like come from Boston and San Francisco and LA and New York and fucking DC and all these fucking places where, the rest of us wouldn't live if you fucking paid us and shit. And by the way, what up, Tennessee? Nice to see you out here, my brother. Always nice to have you out in the chat. Right. And you stand here and, I swear to God, there's like a fucking stripper scene on the goddamn TV right now. Like fucking titties all over the place and shit, fucking my brain up. But anyway, yeah. So they stand here and they try to rule over us like they're fucking better than us. Like they fucking know more than we do. But the truth of the matter is that these individuals here are fucking, they're socialists and they're fucking fully reliant upon that fucking system they live in. And if any of that shit broke down, they'd fucking starve to death. Like it is what it is. Like, if you cut off, if you cut these motherfuckers off from electricity or water for more than like a fucking week, that place would turn into goddamn chaos and shit. Real talk. And, standing here looking at it, it's just like, you can't talk down to the rest of us who can, do for ourselves and we take care of ourselves and we don't got to worry about, who's going to give us what. We're fucking fine. No matter what happens, we're always going to be goddamn fine. And you want to stand here and talk to us and talk down to us like we're some pieces of shit when, that's, what the fuck it is. You know what I mean? Real shit. Like your prime mover was like, get out of the electric chair, bro. Like, I feel you. Like, because I could hear that buzzing in my ear, so I know it ain't fucking me. Legit. Like, I got a brand new motherfucking Blue Yeti fucking mic and shit with a brand new cord on it. I ain't fucked it up yet. It ain't been out in no truck and ain't done nothing. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Right. But yeah, man, legit. Like it's the most aggravating shit in the world to constantly hear these motherfuckers talk down to the rest of us like they're fucking better than us. You know what I mean? Like real shit. Are you there, bro?
Oh, for real. They speak of we a lot, but it's real important to remember when they speak we, they mean themselves and each other and the other economic elite. They really don't mean you. And yeah, they are also part of a money class that's been help running things actually since before World War II, but certainly since World War II. KLAUS admits it right here. And he started the World Economic Forum in, I think, 1972. And he got the buy-in from all these Bretton Woods ties and all these people, and he's gotten slowly more and more and more. I'm not saying he's the world supervillain, but he pretty is close, damn well close is to it. And these are technocrats planning what your interests are for you. And they consider, what you think and all that. They talk like they're going to respect you and hear your voice because you're a stakeholder, but they're going to be ones holding all the economic levers of power. You will work for them or you will find some way desperately to not work for them. And they're going to give you a guaranteed minimum income. And do you know what the equivalent of accepting that guaranteed minimum income is? Because this is all in the plan. This is all in the plan. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is an actual engaged plan that they're trying to enact. They want to put everybody on guaranteed minimum income. They're going to sell it to you like, hey, you'll be free. You'll have all the basics. but they're going to tie that basic income to a bunch of stuff, and much more to the point. Basically, once you accept it, you're on the Indian reservation, son. You're dependent now forever, especially your kids. They won't know any other way to live. And then they're going to start tying that basic minimum income to your social behavior. Are you acting in the interests of the planet? Are you acting in the interests of your community? Are you making trouble and having bad opinions? Are you worshiping God the wrong way? Are you worshiping God at all? These are all questions for them. Are these in the interests of your fellow stakeholders? And you'll have to answer them on that question. Oh, you have the opinion that, men make better scientists than women or whatever, and they do want to tie it to your social credit score. That's in the plans. Your credit score, to your social media, to what you do for your living, to your publicly stated opinions. And you'll get rewards and demerits for good or bad behavior. But they'll always phrase it as, you are not helping your community with this attitude. You are not helping the planet with this behavior. And they will have ways of punishing you if you don't approve, including cutting off your ability to travel, cutting off your ability to work, or even cutting off your income. And
you have to remember, like, all right, not only that, like, there's a reason, you know what I mean, like, why this is happening, right? And one of the biggest reasons is because this is the end of the line for their fiat money system, right? This thought just hit me here a second ago, right? So in this fiat money system that they have, they've gotten to the point where regular human beings can no longer exist because they ran the fucking course. You know what I mean? They can no longer stand here and be able to live on the wages that they earn because wages haven't kept up with the cost of living. Right. So people aren't able to get fucking houses, aren't able to get fucking cars. And it's not working for the average citizen of of the world as in a whole. Right. And this is why all this shit's coming due at this fucking moment. Right. Yes. That, and they have the problem of, like, there's massive amounts of fucking elderly people who are about to retire or are retired already, and they can't afford it because they don't have enough young working inside of these fucking countries and paying taxes to be able to pay for the social programs that they have.
Yeah. Ballistic Zero makes a really good point here about this new system we were just talking about. He says, so literally like BioShock. And I would say, yeah, just exactly like BioShock. If you've ever played those games, which are fantastically good, by the way. Sorry. Yes, I am a nerd. But I mean, that's basically the backstory of BioShock is that these corporate technocrat, actually kind of objectivist Ayn Randian elites take over the world, right? And using tech. And but it's funny too, because you can see that it is a big pushback. That story is subversive because that is actually a pushback on these corporate capitalist elitists in a big, big way. What was I can't remember what the name of the Ayn Rand style supervillain was in BioShock, but he goes down. He's the bad guy, and he goes down from his own hubris. That's in both of BioShock 1 and 2 anyway. I didn't like the third one. Didn't play it through. But there are even people in the system, producing games, producing information, who know this system doesn't work and isn't any good. And among these world economic elites, they're all tied by blood and family, right? But a lot of them hate each other, and it's Game of Thrones up there. So, they're kind of already in hell up there, because they're trying to exert this complete control and fighting each other for who's going to get to be the top of the pyramid kind of thing, And in the meantime, a lot of it may just be crumbling around their ears.
I mean, like, this whole system's crumbling down around them as a whole. Right. Like the whole thing is, and it's, it's going to continue to do so. I mean, as long as they have this garbage system set up that they can't fucking pay for. Right. And this is why it is that they're trying to, like, tax corporations.
Hey, listen, PJ Lutta says something that I want to disagree with. If you don't mind. PJ Lutta says, go figure, boomers fucking everyone else on the way out. Been fucking everyone since they got into power. You know what? Boomer hate is very popular these days. And no, I'm not a boomer. My parents were, and I get it, because boomers can be painful. But the boomer generation at the peasant level at the working class level, at the I have to go get a job level, an awful lot of them got screwed and are poor. There's these snotty ones who did good for themselves and have nice retirements and all that shit, and they're unbearably condescending and selfish. But the boomers were sucked into this system in the first place. Like the elites imposed the system on them.
But it's their goddamn fault.
The elites imposed the system onto them and lied to them the whole time. So ultimately,
it's their fucking fault.
Okay, so if our generation goes along with this great reset shit, whether we want to or not, it's still going to be our fault.
No, because like me and you literally have recordings right now of us fighting against it.
Well, yeah, and there have been honorable boomers who always did. I can name one. Michael Jones. Michael Jones.
I've never even heard of him.
Well, he's a good interview, and he's one of our fellow Catholics, so I'll send some of his shit to you. They've been consistently silenced. It was guys like Pat Buchanan all along, and even some liberals who got shut out in the cold, who had what might be better ideas and just, got shunted aside. People were told this system was sustainable. People were told that this worked. They were brainwashed into it and manipulated into it. And I'll tell you what, a lot of the boomers wound up divorced, losing their kids. A lot of them wound up poor.
Yes, and then they continue to defend the system afterwards and continue to defend their bullshit afterwards. Like they never learned. They legit they swallowed this pill whole and won't let it go. Like, you know how many times I've had this conversation. I've had the conversation with so many goddamn boomers about this fucking shit. And I go, well, like, yeah, man, but like, females shouldn't have the right to vote. And they go, well, why not? Dude, you should have a female who's equal to you. I'm like, why? For what reason?
Well, it is part of this is the boomers you're encountering. And I will say that the boomers who were pushing back against all this shit all this time, were not getting into the mainstream media. They were outcast. Guys like Pat Buchanan, for example. Guys like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. over on the other side.
Where was one boomer I've ever seen fight this, and that was Ron Paul.
Okay, there's another one, though. Okay, so you've seen one. I just named a couple of others. Here's the thing. They always got marginalized by the cathedral press, by the mainstream press, as nut jobs and crackpots with goofy ideas. Now, people listened, but the whole of the media was doing that to Ron Paul. The whole of the media was doing that to Pat Buchanan. You don't get to go on TV with these opinions, basically. So I am going to call it that they're brainwashed. And I'll tell you what, the whole millennial generation, just like Gen X, is going the same way. They're accepting the brainwashing. I know one of my fellow Gen Xers who's ready to go to the smart cities. He can't wait. He thinks it's a fabulous idea. And I've talked to millennials in their 20s who are like, I can't wait. Give me my smart cities. Give me my 6G. Let me live in this techno utopia. They want it. They're going to regret it, but they want it, is all I'm saying, I guess.
I deal with millennials and fucking Zoomers and Gen Xers all the time, and legit, the millennials, for the most part, because they've had the internet forever, they're pretty much all woke about what's going on. All of them have an opinion on, I'm not ballistic. I'm not doubting the fact that I took it up the ass. Right, but but most of these individuals, they have an opinion on how to change things, and they want to change things, and they want shit to go a different way. You know what I mean? And either they want to go full leftist, anarcho, fucking socialism. You won't meet any boomers that are fucking anarchists still, right? You won't meet any boomers who are fucking standing here, bringing up Ayn Rand points and all this fucking shit. They just don't do it. Right? They don't fucking do it. The millennials, though, all day long are out here fucking fighting against all this shit constantly because they know it doesn't work.
When they aren't already SJWs and members of the LGBT club and Antifa fighters, which is who all these kids are. Millennials.
Yeah, even they recognize there's a problem, though.
Right. They do recognize there's a problem. They have no clue what the real problem is because they're getting used.
Yeah. But I'm saying at least they recognize there's a fucking issue and the system doesn't work.
Right. Well, I'll give you that. You know, I'm a big fan of the patron theory of politics, and most of these political movements, whether they're on the right or the left, they're being used by somebody with money. You know, and that's not
I
a
mean, like, yo,
theory.
everybody has, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, fucking like their solution to the fucking problem, right? Like, I think
Right.
mine's right. You think yours right. Everybody thinks theirs is right, whatever, right?
Well,
You know, I mean, like
Christ is
mine,
the only solution, but yeah.
well, like, yeah, but like that's not going to solve our economic woes at the moment. Like that's left to us. You know, I mean, how to provide for each other and how to provide for our society is left to us. You know, I mean, like God isn't going to help you with that. You need to figure that out on your fucking own. You know, I mean, if you follow God in the Bible, you're going to end up where these retards are with the Great fucking Reset bullshit, right? Because this is all born out of fucking Christianity and their fucking nonsense. You know what I mean?
No, I don't know at all what you mean now. I see
Well,
some
no.
bits of it in the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant ethic, but no, I don't know what you're saying at all. This is
Well, yeah. Like, yo, you know that like fucking most of this fucking progressive bullshit just came out of the goddamn fucking. It's the mainstream part of the Protestant church that never died.
Well, okay, I will give you that in the United States, that is how it goes. Although outside the United States, it's much bigger than that. But yeah, there was something that used to be called the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant elite who ran a whole lot of things, and a lot of the kids. But they were always rich Anglo-Saxons with names like Rockefeller and Morgan and all that. And those people they used to justify what they did on Christian grounds, making the world a better place, blah, blah, blah. It was always a thin veneer, though. I mean, you're right. It does come out of that old. In America, it comes out of that old WASP.
Well, not especially in Europe, it comes out of that because Europe is still like fucking have a lot of still like religious shit too. They're way more religious than Americans are.
No, Europeans are very anti-religious. I think you're
thinking. No. Europeans are much more religious than Americans are.
Okay, I won't argue with you, but I mean they do have a tighter, more formal relationship with the various religions. That's for sure in Europe.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So like they end up having, you know, I mean, more religious shit. You know what I'm saying? Like fucking they're like
but okay.
Yeah, and I don't care if you talk to a lot of Europeans. If you actually look at the fucking numbers of individuals who report themselves as being, you know, I mean, religious or Christian or whatever the case might be, it is far higher in Europe than it is in America.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, there's complications to that, but I'll give you this much: the elite, these same elite, have been preaching secularism and the end of religion and telling us religion is dying and going away for decades, right? And they act like that's true, but it is actually true when you go to the everyday people. There's almost no atheists. You know, when you go to everyday real people who work jobs.
Yeah. Well, Europe is far more influenced by fucking religion than America is, right? Like Americans' religion is capitalism, right? And Europe, it is like legitimately our religion is consumerism. Like that's what our religion is as Americans. You know, I mean, like how much stuff can you get? You know, I mean, fucking how many guns do you have? You know, like fucking they say America, fuck yeah, and most of us kind of swell up with pride at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I'm with you. I really am. But I think that gets played. People's sentiments for nationalism or whatever get played.
Oh, for sure.
It's just your family and the people nearest to you. You got to be thinking about. That's one thing I've definitely been learning more and more. It is your immediate family and the people closest to you that matter the most. Internet friends are great and they're real and all that, but if someone isn't somewhere where you can walk over to them or at least a short drive over to them, they're not somebody you really know in a lot of ways.
You're not wrong.
And it's people like that are going to keep you alive in weird times, because damn well, one way or the other, we're going into weird times. I mean, here's the deal. They're doing this great reset, right? And a lot of the stats that he's talking about, that KLAUS and the World Economic Forum are saying, oh yes, these wealthy, you know, Europeans and Americans, it's not sustainable. They have, you know, half the world's wealth. They literally do seek for the United States empire to crumble, for the United States GDP to go down to an average more like the rest of the world's.
And that's one of the things they want to happen. They have been saying since the 70s that the U.S. middle class is not sustainable. And when you hear them say sustainable development, virtually all sustainable development is devoted to eliminating the American middle class. And so if you're thinking about sustainable development, what does that mean? It means you're not sustainable, motherfucker. You need to be a renter and an employee of a big corporation, because your independent house, business, whatever, is not sustainable. And you need to be brought down to more equal to everybody else. It is world communism on the hoof, guys. The phrase is capitalism.
Yeah, well, like, all right. So here's the thing. I know Europe wants to tear down the United States, right? As a whole. Well, most of the rest of the world wants to tear down, except for the countries who are fully reliant upon the United States to survive. For instance, countries like Saudi Arabia, countries like fucking South America, most of the countries in South and Central America really want American, to be successful. And the reason is because, like, without America, they're fucked. Right, as a whole, and most of their governments are fucked as a whole. So, like, you got to remember, like, this isn't like a one size fits all thing. Europe as a whole, though, they've always wanted to dethrone the United States because Europe wants to run the planet. It's not because they want to tear down. They don't want to tear us down because they don't like us. They want to tear us down because they want to be running shit again like they used to. Right, they're upset that the United States eclipsed them about fucking 80 years ago and never looked back and left them cocksuckers laying bleeding on the fucking floor after World War II and shit.
And I think if we go back to Klaus's argument, by the way, Klaus's article that we started this with, you'll see he openly admits that these people after World War II, he's talking about the Bretton Woods people, that the European Union and the World Trade Organizations came straight out of them. So that's what these organizations are. They are basically European powers trying to establish power around the world. Yes, they bring in the other global powers, but there is a real at this point, though, it's when we say the Europeans, again, I think we got to stop blaming the average, the European voting class. They want Europe.
No.
They want the European. Yeah.
You have to blame the Europeans, right, as a whole, because European. No, you do, and I'm gonna tell you why. All right, because Europeans all hold this ideology that they think that they're better than everybody the fuck else, and they look down on America as a bunch of backwards redneck motherfuckers who, eat too many goddamn cheeseburgers and shit.
Yes, they do, but I'll tell you what, the rest of the world sees Americans as treating them the same way, and the rest of the world sees America as the bully boys who treats them like they're inferior mud people. And I got to be honest, America has been a really evil empire that's done a lot of damage for the last few decades. It has not made the world a better place. I don't think so. So that may be something we disagree on, but
okay. It's like, here's the thing, right? The reasons why we do what we do is for the Europeans, though, is the issue.
And I think it is only for the moneyed elites. And many of those moneyed elites now are, yes, I think it's entirely the moneyed elites, and it's not the voters at all. It is not the European people at all. They have, the voters have 1% responsibility, and these technocrats have 99%, and they are all from wealthy families. And they have been oppressing the European people for decades and brainwashing them and giving them false choices, just like the motherfuckers have been doing the same thing to the American voters from before the boomers to the World War II generation. Brainwashed, lied to, and fed fake candidates who are all controlled, and fed fake narratives, and fed fake choices. And I totally reject the idea that the voters are responsible at all, Tom. The voters bear 1% of the responsibility.
No. The voters bear 100% of the responsibility for their fucking governments.
Then I'm not going to vote anymore, and then democracy is bad, and I'm not voting anymore. I've been thinking about that for a long time. You're going to tell me, motherfucker, that I'm responsible for this shit when I hate all of it? I'm going to stop voting then.
No. I'm gonna tell you that if you live in a major goddamn city, right, and
Which
you
I
don't
have.
leave when they can't when they continue to fucking elect piece of shit motherfuckers,
We are
like that's your
only
fault.
given. We are only given a few. They choose what candidates we're even allowed to vote on, and they choose which issues we're
locally.
allowed to argue with, just like the old
Not
Roman
locally.
patricians. Dude, I've tried to get into local politics where I live, and it is run by moneyed technocrats. And you've got to be connected and wealthy even to get elected mayor around here. And so maybe I got a different view from you, but
I mean, no,
they're all
dude. I know that motherfucking like the fucking European public as a whole are a bunch of fucking a bunch of fucking city dwelling fucking shitbag elite motherfuckers. Legit.
All right. Then legit. The average American is a fat, lazy fuck who stares at the TV or YouTube all day and thinks that the American military should be allowed to just be the world police and fuck all those primitives and everybody else. And this is how Europeans and everybody else in the world fucking sees us. Legit. They don't like us. Most of them.
I know.
Even the immigrants, because we fuck our immigrants at this point with the H-1B visa scams and all that shit. I don't know. I probably we're going off the rails here, but I definitely do not blame the people. I believe that people have 1%.
I blame them. I completely blame the motherfucking people.
Then what do we do to get out of it? It's your fault then, Tom. What are you doing about it?
Man, I'm doing it right now.
Yeah, fair enough. I want to get off the grid. I want to find ways to make money without having to give a corporate job, and I'm never going to accept the UBI if I can avoid it. But I don't know. Yeah, it is up to us as individuals to figure out how to escape this. But man, I look at all
real shit. Like we can't keep blaming rich people and fucking elites and motherfucking the government and going like, yo, fucking, we can't fucking fix nothing. When like, yo, we have to do it ourselves. And like, that's why, like, I make suggestions all the time. Like my most recent suggestion is we start the Leave Me Alone party, right? And we start a political party where all we want to do is make sure that people just leave us the fuck alone. We elect politicians that if they don't vote for anything, that doesn't leave us the fuck alone.
But here's what I see: democracy always fails because candidates will always be bought. And people with legitimate issues who try to do what you want to do will be smeared as crackpots, destroyed financially, or just plain assassinated. And they've been doing this shit for over a century. They're good at it. I do not blame the people. This is a huge difference between you. The people are manipulated, lied to, bribed. Sometimes they accept a convenient lie because that they know has a problem to it, but all of this is being put in front of them by people in control. It's like the old the old Romans had a sort of democratic rule. They had a patrician class who would debate the issues. And then when it was a contentious issue, they would go out to the plebs and everybody could universally say yay or nay, thumbs up, thumbs down kind of thing in a big crowd, right? And that's how they would decide issues. That's how they still have been doing it since before World War II, Tom. They've controlled the press. They've controlled who gets to be the major candidates. And even if the local level, the last 10, 20 years, especially, they've been taking over local offices all over the place. Because it don't take much to buy up a small town election. They can buy up your small town election anytime they want to. They just got to find one Fink and give him $1 million and give him press coverage.
Again, you know what I'm saying?
That's how
like,
Pete
you know,
Buttigieg got elected in Indianapolis. That mayor of Indianapolis got elected by like 3% of the populace, but nobody else could run against him. I don't know. I'm way more up on the people and down on the technocrats. And I think the only way we get better is if we recognize who the technocrats are and do blame them and do hold them accountable. I would even say more, but we'll get taken off the air because some of them need more than jail. But some of them need jail. And yes, we need the freedom to construct something like the Leave Us Alone party. we'll use cryptocurrency and our own systems of trade. Thank you. We need to be able to do that, but we need to know who the enemy is and how to fight him. Otherwise,
again, like, yo, but here's the thing though, right? Like, yo, you have to, like, okay, first off, here's the thing. Number one, like, yo, the problem is we have to stop this left-right fucking paradigm bullshit because, like, yo,
we do.
Like, yo, we have to, like, unite as a country as a whole, right? Because, like,
True.
even most leftists would get along and fucking go with, you know what I mean, leave me the fuck alone, right? If I said, hey, look, I don't want you to stand here and, you know what I mean, give me anything. I don't want you to help me. All I want is to be left alone with my family and my guns and my kids and my religion. You just leave me be, right? As a whole.
Right. Have sex with whoever you want. Take whatever drugs you want. Just don't mess with me and mine. Right.
Yeah, simple. Basic ass shit, right? You know what I'm saying? I would love
to live in that world, yeah.
Yeah, basic ass shit, right? And like, yo, you can have your freedom of speech, you can say whatever you want. You know what I mean? You want to be a transvestite, you can be a transvestite, but here's the thing, like, yo, I don't want you teaching that shit to my kids. Right?
See,
yo, legit.
These people want to indoctrinate the kids and they want to put them through a mill.
Like, yo,
and they do.
Again, most leftists don't fucking agree with this bullshit either.
Well, the ones who haven't been brainwashed and drunk the Kool-Aid, you're totally correct. I have this argument with some conservatives all the time because I do listen to what I consider honorable, honest leftists or liberals or whatever. And they're out there and they are calling and saying, well, yes, global warming is a problem, but there's bigger problems. And they're saying, you know, wait a minute, transgenderism, there may be a problem here. Oh, wait a minute, feminism, maybe it's out of control. And all of those liberal leftists get, you know, they get the boot to the face, basically, and they get censored and they don't show up. So no, you're right. In fact, I saw this a few years ago, 10 years ago, so I probably can't find it now, but somebody did a study looking at the actual attitudes, beliefs, and desires for reform of Occupy Wall Street, you know, the radical leftist group, and the Tea Party, which supposedly is a radical right-wing group. And they looked at their issues and even a lot of their proposed solutions, and they had 70-80% overlap between them. And that's just a reality, right? And yet at the same time, they hated each other.
Well, like, no. Here's the problem. Okay. So like the Tea Party and Occupy Wall Street were at the same protest and shit, right?
Right.
Legit. And I mean, so like when the Tea Party and the Occupy Wall Street people were at the same guy, because I was there, right? I was there at the protest and shit.
No, I can give you that. When Occupy and Tea Party people got together and actually talked, which didn't happen often enough, but when it did, they were like stunned because they couldn't get along.
Yeah, the problem where it broke down is when like the Occupy Wall Street people started doing jazz hands and shit.
Well, right? And the reality is Occupy Wall Street had rich financial backers behind them, and so did the Tea Party. So they were kind of made to fight each other, and that's just the truth. Wall Street funded Occupy Wall Street. And Wall Street funded the Tea Party, and
Wall Street bought the Tea Party after it got moving.
Oh, sure. Look, this is how a lot of it goes either way because Antifa is older than that, right? And Occupy Wall Street's based on similar methods. But no, you're right. What they do is they come in when a grass movement starts and they bring in cash and they bring in logistics and they bring in planning and they bring in advice and then they steer it the way they want it to go and then they crush it. Which is pretty much what they did to the Tea Party. It's also what they did to Occupy Wall Street. It was just easier to do it to Wall Street. But you're otherwise correct. The point is rich patrons come in and play both sides. And then once those people are no longer useful, like I'll tell you something right now that's happening, and then I'll shut up again and ask for your perspective. But right now in Washington, D.C., tons and tons of Trump supporters are going there right now so that they can be there on Wednesday when the Senate meets to count the electoral votes to protest. A lot of militia groups and quote unquote patriot groups are going. It's clear they've got funding and planning. It's clear that that BLM and Antifa are also planning a major show. All of these people, in my view, are getting played by moneyed power that don't understand it. I know a lot of the Trumpers are convinced they're there to defeat the globalists.
I know they think it, and I know a lot of these Occupy are kids. I mean, these kids into BLM or whatever really are against racism, and they really do want to change the system, but they're being set up to clash. And I think it's going to be ugly. And it's a damn shame, because if people could see past this left-right bullshit and would just talk to each other, there wouldn't be these fights. I just genuinely believe the elite set us up this way. It's the old you and him fight game. It's the old when a girl gets two guys to fight over her game. She's the one who's really running things. That's how I think democracy works. And that's actually why I think democracy has failed. Democratic republicanism, whatever you want to call it, it's failed because people with money manipulate the masses. That's what I think. And so, but I would also add, last point, the solution, get out, walk out of that matrix. Don't play their game. Find a way to live without them and their bullshit. That's. I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah, legit. And I mean, like fucking, like we are. Here's the thing, right? And this is the big problem as a whole, is that like we are not. We keep trying to like stay in this left-right paradigm. Keep trying to like build off this fucking dumb shit. Right, we need to stand here and like start our own shit and not worry about what the fuck it is they're doing as a whole. Right, we need to fucking run our race and do what it is we need to do. You know what I mean? Like it's fucking garbage that we keep going through. You know what I mean? This fucking bullshit of fucking dealing with Republicans and Democrats and people who have been in Washington for 80 years who want to continue to catch these fucking paychecks and these goddamn all this money from, all these fucking people. And it's fucking nonsense, right? We need to start the Leave Us Alone party, right? You're legit. Like, it's a beautiful ideology, right? It's a simple thing. It's fucking catchy. It's basic. Right. And if we can start it on our own, and just like Donald Trump, right? When Donald Trump stood here and fucking like took over all this nonsense or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Like, everybody was like, oh man, da 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 da. Fucking, like, oh man, Donald Trump can't win. Like, you can win. You can hijack the system. It just requires you to get out here and get it the fuck done.
Although I have a more cynical view of Mr. Trump than you, I would say that basically you have the right attitude. Here's what I think happens no matter what goes down in the next few weeks. No matter what goes down, the dollar can't keep going. Although I've been saying it for 2 years now that the dollar is going to collapse, and it still has managed not to, at least at the consumer level. But I think you just have to look internationally. The dollar is going to go pop. People are not going to have jobs. They're going to be looking to governments and charities for handouts. And, meanwhile, the other crap they're pulling with universal surveillance on that will proceed apace. One of the two things happen. These people, these people like the World Economic Forum and them, it comes down around their ears and it just doesn't work out. Or it succeeds. Either way, for the next 10, 20, 30 years. Either way, you have to figure out, what? Most people are probably going to succumb one way or the other, and all you're going to be able to do is catch yourself, your family, and try to save any people. Like we're on the edge of a cliff already, and we're watching people go off of it, and we can try and warn them, and we might even try to catch a few of them as long as we don't go down with them. But we're just going to watch millions of people go off that cliff and try not to be one with them. That's the only attitude I have at this point. I'll save as many people as I can and try and warn them. Because, dude, the system's falling apart one way or the other. I think we agree with that on that.
I don't think you're wrong about that. I know the system's falling apart as a whole, but here's what I'm saying, right? Mm-hmm. Right. Legit, like success can happen, right? All you have to be willing to do is put in a fucking effort to stand here and go, well, we want to fucking stand here and just do what we want to do and handle our business and have our families, and start our own shit, right? Like, get the fuck away from these fucking two-party system things, you know what I mean? And really spread this fucking message out, you know what I mean? And get like other people on our fucking side about this, you know what I mean? Like, I'm really thinking like that's what we need to do. Like, we need to just fucking do it ourselves, you know what I mean? Like, find some decent candidates, get them the fuck out here and handle the goddamn shit, you know what I mean? And
it is, having tried it, dude, having seen it in action and done third-party work too, as well as others, you need to successfully even mount a credible campaign, a congressional campaign in most districts. You're going to need $2-3 million just for one.
Tennessee Marine, you are completely wrong about that. Like, that's not why they hated Trump.
It is the average in the that is the average in the United States. Last I looked, but okay, what is it in your county? Maybe it's less.
What?
No, really, how much does it cost to get elected to your congressional seat? Do you know? I would guess it costs a couple $1 million to mount a credible campaign where you are. That's not a lot of money, Tom, to cover, you know, I think the average representative in Pennsylvania probably represents upwards of 1 million people.
Well, I know, like, if you're talking about the 2 that goes to the House of Representatives, right? Because you get 2 per each state.
No, that's the senators. That's the senators, and that's going to be more expensive. You get 2 senators and multiple representatives based on your population, and Pennsylvania's got a lot.
Yeah, because we have 8 million, fucking 9 million. No. We have 13 million people who live in PA and shit. So, like, you know, yeah, we have a fuck ton of people, but I'm saying it sounds motherfucking like, it's a lot of individuals. But on the same point, what I'm saying is it don't take shit to be able to get out here and fucking really start spreading that goddamn message. And I mean, it takes you getting out here and beating the pavement, having these conversations. And I mean, going to fucking, going to your local fucking state fairs or whatever, your fucking local carnivals, and like really drumming up support for this type of shit where you can go, hey man, look, we're starting this new party. It's the Leave Me Alone party. We're trying to get away from Republicans and Democrats. And I mean, because neither one of us are trying to help, I mean, this type of shit. And like, that's really where we need to get down to as a whole. We need to do our own fucking thing and stop relying on the two-party system to fucking help us, because it's not, you know what I mean? It's not interested in helping any of us at this point.
Yeah. Well, I'm not trying to be down on you but just giving you some practical numbers. You've got 12.5 million people in Pennsylvania. You have 18 congressmen and 2 senators. Of those 18 congressmen representing, 12.5 million people, that means on average they represent about 700,000 people apiece. So just to reach 700,000 people in your congressional district, Tom, how much money do you think that takes? If it's $1 a citizen, it's already 700,000 just to reach them. On a more practical level, just to do a single mailing is probably going to cost you $1 million or more. And to buy TV airtime, still more money. The ability to print stickers, posters, signs, run around and get people to hear your message, knock doors on 700,000 people. It's a big task, is all I'm telling you. It's a real big, that's to get 1 congressional seat in Pennsylvania. I know about this because, like, I used to be a member of the Libertarian Party because I somehow thought that was going to be workable. But you need cash to get into Congress. And I can tell you the Pennsylvania House, which is known to be corrupt as fuck, you're going to need a lot of money to get into the Pennsylvania House or Senate, too. I really think people underestimate how important the money really is. It's the mother's milk of politics. You don't have money, you ain't getting elected. Not unless you're in like some town of 200.
Oh, I feel you, right? Like, I completely feel you where you're at, what I mean? But on the same point, I mean? Like, these are able to be raised. And again, you got to start on the motherfucking bottom and shit. Look, nigga, like, he's been coming to every goddamn live stream I do and saying the same shit over and over and over again. It's annoying. Legit. It's just, it's just getting motherfucking annoying, like real shit.
They're trolling you? So just ban somebody trolling
look, legit. He said the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Like, look, it's not funny. Nobody's reacting to it. Nobody, nobody fucking is, fucking standing here saying some shit. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I'm just on that level where I'm like, look, I'm not gonna fucking stand here, yo. But I'm saying though, like, yo, I'm sick of him saying the same shit over and over and over again. Fucking tired of that shit. I'm no free seats and shit. You know what I mean? like legit. I'm fully free speech, like 100%. You know what I mean? Like real shit.
I get you, but you know what? Sometimes people troll just to troll, and you shouldn't have to take abuse. You really shouldn't.
What?
I mean,
I don't. No. Ain't even that. Like, yo, I just get sick of people who are like shitty trolls. Like, yo, say something fucking interesting. You know what I mean? Legit. Like, yo, don't stand here and like call me a fucking deadbeat dad over and over and over again. That's not fucking cool. You know what I mean? Like, yo, I pay my money I'm supposed to pay. I fucking, you know what I mean? I have my goddamn kids all the time. You know what I mean? And it's some bitch ass shit.
Don't let them do that to you. Yeah, I know. People who talk that way have never actually had to scrape for a living. And never mind. You try your best with your kids, and maybe this is time to start wrapping it up. Here's the thing: I think January is going to be probably the most important month of this year in terms of figuring out what the rest of the decade is going to look like. Some people are convinced that Biden's going to sail right through this thing, and everything else is just a bunch of noise. And I guess they could be right. They could be. I could just be wrong. In which case, we have a real good idea how he's going to govern, and it's going to be Klaus Schwab and the Great Reset. Straight up, it's very open about it. That's what they plan to do. So if you want to know what Biden's going to do, fine. I think Trump, if he manages to win, and there's a very good chance, he's going to do most of the same shit. That's what I think. That's the difference between me and some of my Trump-loving pals. I don't think he's going to save us for shit. I'm more on Owen Benjamin's side, but. In any case, although it doesn't all get down to the tiny hats either, but in any case, there's a real good chance Trump is going to seize power by force this month. And anybody who says that's crazy is a fool, because whether he does or not, it's going to be mayhem. But we're going to see by January 20th, we're probably going to know what the United States is going to look like for the rest of the year. So on that note, watch for Wednesday and we'll see what happens, I guess. I think it's about time to wrap it up.
That's where I'm at. I gotta go fucking work out and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Well, let me tell y'all, let me get preachy on everybody. Y'all need Jesus more than anything. Just so you know. Really, you do. Especially at a time like this. Because, yes, you do need to try and help yourself, but ultimately only God's going to save your ass. And that's the truth. That's what I think. You can have your opinions. God bless everybody and good night.
Good night, everybody, man. I'll talk to y'all later. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. It's appreciated. You know what I'm saying? And don't be a bitch made nigga. Peace.
God bless. Ave Maria.